And welcome back to Community IQ. I'm your host, Garrett Bonnell, and looking forward to starting this brand new series, the Political Series. To have the opportunity to build a rapport with anybody that holds an office in Lake County, and we want everybody behind this microphone. We want to know what that service, that responsibility is all about, and to strengthen this community with those that hold an office. And remember, to engage and to encourage, building up versus tearing down, voices of our community, Community IQ, and bringing on, as Master of Ceremonies for this whole series, Mr. Bruce Duncan, and today our special guest, Keith Truenow, who is our state representative for District 31. Enjoy the presentation and look forward to more in the future.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Duncan. I'm here tonight, honored to be here tonight with Keith Truenow. Keith Truenow is our newly elected state representative to District 31. Keith is a longtime Lake County resident, has been on the board of Lake County Florida Farm Bureau for a number of years, Lake County Fair Association. He served on the Florida State Sod Growers Association for 18 years. He is a man who has got a strong agriculture background, military background, a family man with a lovely wife, hardworking wife, and two really good children, two sons. And I want to introduce you tonight to Keith Truenow so you can get to know, as Garrett said just a moment ago, who it is that is serving you in this capacity as your newly elected state representative. So, Keith, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for having me.
We're honored to have you here tonight. Keith, you're not a native of Florida, but you've been here a long time. Give us a little background on where you're from and how you got to where you are today.
Well, my family is from Minnesota. We moved here in the late 70s, and we homesteaded in Webster, Florida. My parents had a chicken farm over there, and I grew up living in Webster for quite a while, and things changed, and we moved to Leesburg about 1984, and went to Leesburg High School, and it's quite a culture change going from a rural, farm life to living in the city. So I had to find my way. So a neighbor had a farm in Leesburg, and I got to know him really well, and it was a muck farm. He grew silage for a local dairy in Paisley. And I went to work for him at 15 years old. And through high school, I worked for him until I graduated. But just before I graduated, we got into turf grass. So we, transitioned a little bit there. But after that, I entered the Air Force and served a term in the Air Force. Stationed right here at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa. After I served my term, I came back to Lake County and went right back to work for Jack Welling out at the muck farm. Things that were, things I learned, things I've understood. I moved on from him and went to work for a guy in Zellwood, LSF Wilkinson Farms. He was row crop farmer. He grew sweet corn, and he was part of a bigger group. Him and his brothers owned a company called Wilkinson Cooper Produce out of Pahokee and Belglade. And I worked for Mr. Ellis for 7 years. He passed away, and that's where I began my new start. It was I bought the business from him, and started Lake Gem Farms, and from that, grew that company into many, many different things. But that's just a little background about where I come from and where, my beginnings of where I'm at today.
Keith, for our listeners that aren't familiar with the term, tell us a little bit about what muck farming is.
Muck farming? Well, it's that Florida peat, that organic layer that's been building up for millions and millions of years. And during World War II, they drained a lot of these areas across the state of Florida, and it was very fertile farmland. So you could grow a host of things with very little inputs. And those areas are going away today, but the thought of them being producing discharge waters or things that affect the environment have pretty much run off a lot of the agriculture in that manner in this area. So looking back and looking forward, we probably could have done a better job of keeping those farms in place and finding a way to clean the water. But anyway, muck farms are a very useful tool that have propelled America, during the war. And, that was the place in the wintertime where most of your vegetables came from until, foreign competition came and became a bigger part of what we do.
You touched on something that I'd like to expound on, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're talking about those farms down around Lake Apopka that really were created by the federal government in order to, as you just pointed out, feed the troops during World War II. And they drained those areas and started growing their vegetables down there, and of course did that for a number of years. And then after the war was over, private industry took it over, and those folks were growing corn along in Scott, some of our friends in the farming industry down there. And then all of a sudden, St. Johns River Water Management District came along and said, y'all are destroying the lake. Well, guess who created that problem? It was the government that created that problem. And then they turned around and said, well, we're going to shut you down. They shut all those farmers down around that lake. They paid them what they determined to be fair market value for that land, but they put a lot of people out of business, a lot of families that had been in the farming industry in the state of Florida for decades, for generations. And now, as you just pointed out, they've eliminated a lot of the farming land in the state of Florida. And one thing that people, I'm afraid that people don't appreciate, I love this saying, no farmers, no food. And if you don't have farms to grow the food in this country, where are you going to get your food from? And I'm afraid the government forgets that. And you and I talked a minute ago about the agricultural industry in the state of Florida. Talk about the impact of agriculture in the state of Florida for a moment.
Well, I believe that agriculture as a whole, especially 2020, became the number one economic engine for Florida. And, if the pandemic were have gotten a little worse and you couldn't import because of transportation problems with COVID, or if the virus was that effective that it shut down your supply lines, we'd be in a tight spot right now, because 65% or so of your produce comes from somewhere else. And if we were shut down, it would be tough on the citizens.
Even in times of good economy prior to COVID, the agriculture industry was the third largest industry in the state of Florida. Now, as you pointed out, Keith, it became the first. Again, it used to be the first for generations, and then tourism and the housing industry took over. But when we lost citrus after 1980s, so it's interesting to see agriculture has been a constant in the state of Florida. And I don't think enough people realize just how much agricultural means to the state, how many jobs it creates, how much economic impact it has on the state's budget. It really is an astronomical number, and agriculture needs to be preserved. That's why I'm so happy to see a guy like you get elected to the state representative, state house, because you understand that, and hopefully we'll look out for that. So thank you for pointing that out. Now, Keith, you tell me a little bit about your family. You're married to Dodie, who is a pharmacist, and you got two really good boys. Talk about those for a minute.
Well, my wife's a jewel. I can't say enough about her and her standing and her commitment to me and all the things we've done in our lifetime so far. She's comes from an ag family as well, many generations of ag. She's self-motivated. She likes to get it done and do it the right way. She's been a pharmacist for 25 years plus, graduate of UF.
Say that again. Graduate of where?
University of Florida.
Thank you. I thought you did.
And she's really promoted me and the efforts that I've the path I've taken and been there for me in every way possible. We have two boys, 14 and 16. Oldest Dylan, who's both of them are great boys. They're very respectful, very polite. They do things above and beyond what they need to be doing. Dylan himself, he is quite a good musician. Plays piano, saxophone, writes music, sings. He's taking that talent to the next level. Really proud of him. We encourage our boys to whatever they want to do. We support them 100% and try to encourage, the deeper part of learning how things work and how things come together. Ashton as well, he's into music and into a lot of other things, cross country for sports, but both of them are very well on their way to being good young men.
Keith, I got to put a plug in for Dodie too. She's really quite an artist. Not only just her photography, but her art is incredible.
Absolutely.
She preserves the citrus history in this state with her artwork, and that it's really amazing, the stuff that she's able to put together. Very, very fond of her artwork. All right, Keith, you just are coming off of your first week in Tallahassee. You were up there for committee meetings last week. You've got some pretty good committee assignments for a freshman, which I think goes to show that the potential that they see in you. So tell us a little bit about your first week up there. What was it like to spend the first week in Tallahassee as a state representative?
Well, I have to admit that your first week is like drinking from a fire hose. There's a lot of information to take in, a lot of process, procedures, things that happen. But I will say that the speaker, Chris Sprouse, and his staff or his team that he's put together of other representatives, that they're outstanding. They've been there to help in many different ways with educational processes, lunch and learns, things to make you feel comfortable about how to do your job. And it's been a joy so far to, get a good feeling of your feet on the ground and you're off and running. COVID's got us kind of in a different world up there. We have to get tested before we go in, and they're limiting the amount of people that come to see us. But all in all, we're moving in the right direction. As far as, my staff, my legislative aide is Eric Raimundo. He's talented. I always tell people I surround myself with people know more than I do, and I've surrounded myself with two great people. The district secretary here is a lean guy, and she's outstanding as well. Both of them bring what we need for the constituents of this district to help us.
That's good. They all have experience in Tallahassee already. They served other representatives before they were with you, correct?
Yes.
Good. That's important, especially as a first-timer. Eventually you'll know more than they do, but right now that may be the opposite. But it's good to have those kind of folks around you. You ran for office. I remember when you called me and said, I'm thinking about running for the state house. And, of course, I warned you about all the troubles and tribulations you were going to go through. But there was something that motivated you to run for office. What was it that encouraged you to step up and serve? Because let's be honest, you're sticking your head above the water. Sometimes it's easier to swim below the surface because nobody can see you or know what you're doing. But when you stick your head above the water, you open yourself up to a lot of criticism, a lot of speculation, a lot of research and seeing who you are. What motivated you to take that step, Keith?
Well, I mean, a few things. There's so many times you go to Tallahassee and you talk to folks that, are writing legislation or, passing referendum or, things that affect the way you live, the way you do business, all these things. And most or some of the time when you talk to folks, you don't get a feel of how they come to the decisions they make when they haven't had the experiences. Well, I feel I've had a lot of experiences in a lot of diversified ways, and I've gotten to a point in my life where I have the time to dedicate to this experience, and it just came to me that I could well serve the community in this role.
I have no doubt about that. I mean, I've known you for a long time, and one of the things that I like about you, and this is coming from a guy who's probably got too much education, is that your education came in the real world, which is where it really should come from. I always tell this, I went to law school, but they didn't teach me how to be a lawyer in law school. I learned how to be a lawyer when I got into a courtroom. I mean, that's the gosh darn truth. You spent your since you were 15 years old in the ag industry and learning lessons that are hard to come by. And I think that experience that you have and the knowledge you've acquired and success that you've had, I don't think a lot of people realize how much success you've had in your industry. And ag is a tough industry, man. You not only do you have to answer to government regulations, but you got to answer to Mother Nature. You got to answer to opposition from the general public. People worried about, how much fertilizer are you putting on the ground, all these kind of things. You are always under fire in the ag industry, and you have done it extremely well for a long time. And I think that experience and your toughness will show when you get to Tallahassee, because you can't be soft and be in the agriculture industry in the state of Florida. Boy, we've seen it as kids. I was born and reared here, born in 1963, and I saw good times and bad times, man. And then I saw the worst of times in 1983 and 1985. And, I think you are perfectly suited for the role that you're about to serve in Tallahassee, and I couldn't be happier to have you up there. I think a lot of people feel the same way. Obviously, a lot of people voted for you, didn't they?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
That's good.
You brought it home.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit about what it is that when you're up there, and I asked you this question earlier, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but 8 years from now, when your 4 terms are up and you've served your entire time in Tallahassee, I mean, if you want to look back and say, what would you like to say that you accomplished over this 8-year period of time?
Well, just bring back to this district, Lake County, Orange County, good sound legislation that gives the people, more prosperity, a better way of life, things that matter. Some build on the foundation of what we do have to make it better. As far as what do I see after 8 years, I don't know exactly what I see after 8 years. It'll probably come to me as far as which path I'll take. I just want to focus on the here and now and doing a good job for everyone, making sure that, we make good conscious decisions and they affect us in the right way. A couple of things I want to champion. I want to work hard on vocational education. I really want to work hard for those young people coming up through middle and high school and that section before they go to community college. Maybe they'll already have a career figured out by the time they hit graduation day, and then all they need to do is get a little bit of business, some academics through a community college, and they're well on their way to making a great living and starting a family and finding their first house. I mean, things that keep people off the street, put them where they know they're meaningful and their skills matter and what they do matters to the rest of us. That's something I want to champion. Of course, I want to champion agriculture, hard and fast. I'm there. I want to make sure that we have all the things we need coming from agriculture. I mean, it's a diverse base. There's so many things that come from ag. We utilize it in everything we touch, everything, and you keep making that a more diverse economic engine. Utilizing what we can. Science and technology is causing agriculture to be better and better every day. We're growing crops on half as much land today and supplying the same amount of people. I mean, in 20 years, I've seen at least a reduction of half the land, to make, food products, because we're getting better at it. So those are a couple things I'll champion. I mean, a lot of other things coming down the line, but just to make Florida a better place.
Right. And Keith, something that's extremely important to all the citizens of the state of Florida is water.
Absolutely.
Agriculture is a huge user of water. A lot of that water ends up back in the foods that we eat. I mean, citrus, oranges, and grapefruit, limes, lemons, peppers, corn, all the things that are grown in the state of Florida harbor a lot of that water that we use to fertilize and irrigate the ground. But you just said something that's important, and I think the people need to understand this too. Florida agriculture industry is using a third of the water that it used to use in order to grow twice as much food. And that is an absolutely essential aspect of the future and sustainability of Florida, because water is certainly an issue. I mean, we are blessed with an aquifer that, depending on who you talk to, is being negatively impacted. Some would argue that it's not. But I think that's an essential part of what you, I think, will focus on in Tallahassee is water conservation and water use and water preservation. I think that's very important. I mean, especially here in Lake County where we're surrounded by it. We're very blessed here in Lake County. But we've seen that change too. We've seen times when these docks are out of water, and I've seen times when the docks are underwater. So that is always going to change. It's always cyclical. I mean, in my 57 years on this planet, I've probably seen that both ways 3 different times. So whenever that dock is out of the water, always remember that it's probably going to be a time shortly where it's right back underwater. So I appreciate your commenting on the science and technology of agriculture. Is just incredible. Changes it every day. Thank you. One of the things, Keith, that we were going to talk about, I mean, and, we've been on this, let me see how long. We've been talking for about 20 minutes now, and not one of us has mentioned your party affiliation. I think in today's world, I think that's extremely rare. But you are a Republican.
Absolutely.
Yeah. and that's not a prerequisite to you being on this show, but I think that it's pretty amazing that we've gone this far without talking about it. But tell me, what in your opinion, what is the primary focus of the Republican Party, or what should it be? What should be the primary focus of the Republican Party?
The primary focus, in my opinion, is to allow the people to do the work. We're here for the people. The people are here for us. I mean, it comes all the way back around from start to finish. We have to build a better society, a better economic engine that keeps us. But, personal responsibility is the number one key factor in most of my thoughts. I mean, people have to understand they're responsible for what they do and how they act and where they go and how they lead their lives. And, government's not here to run the show. The people are here to run the show. And I'm here to help make sure that we can get that done in Tallahassee and help right here.
Yeah. That's very well said. And I mean, I think all of us here at this table couldn't agree with you more. I mean, the important aspect is that human beings have the opportunity to take care of themselves. The concept that government is here to take care of you is absolutely ridiculous. And so I think you're right. The Republican Party's responsibility is to give everyone the opportunity to take care of themselves. So that's outstanding. Now, you touched on something a minute ago. I wanted to go back to it for a second because I think you are ahead of your curve on this one. Vocational education, it has become a little bit more important in the state of Florida over the last 15 or 20 years. But I think not only in the state of Florida, but in the national scale, we have failed our students in this country in that we try to force them all into a college education. And the fact of the matter is not everyone is suited for a college education. Some people are, some people aren't. So you've got to give them alternatives to where they can be successful without a college education. And it can happen in this country. Growing up in Tavares, the guys that own the construction businesses and the guys that own the plumbing businesses and the electrical businesses, or the mechanics in town, were extremely successful, wealthy people who raised families and sent all their kids off to school if they wanted to. I mean, it is an opportunity to be successful without having to go to college. We don't give kids that chance to learn that until they get out of high school. Why don't you start at 12 or 13 or 14 years old, exactly like you said, and track them into those opportunities so that when they are 18 years old and they get that diploma in their hand, they've got a skill that they can go out and be productive already. In Europe, they've been doing that for generations.
And they test them. They test them to figure out where they may want to go and what's best for them, right? Yes. So government is trying to protect the children,
right? Because
they think that we can't protect our own children, when that's not the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to let them evolve and learn things so they can be better,
right? Better
for themselves and better to everyone.
No, you're exactly right, and that's what. If I'm a young man of 12 years old and I'm in high school and I don't want to go to college, I don't even think about going to college. I don't like school. But if you put, you ask me what I want to do when I grow up, and I say, I like fixing cars. I like working on cars. Well, here's what we're going to do, Johnny, is we're going to put you in a class and we're going to teach you how to take apart an engine and put an engine back together. We're going to teach you how to change oil. We're going to teach you the business aspects of an automobile repair shop so that you know how to run your books, how to take vehicles in, how to charge for repairs, how much to charge, all those kind of things. That's what we're going to teach you how to do, Johnny. That's what you want to be. Nothing wrong with that. It's an honorable profession.
Absolutely.
So when you turn 18 years old and you walk out of this high school and we hand you a diploma, you can go out there and open up your own business and you can be successful in life, or get a job, go to work for Cecil Clark Chevrolet until you reach a point in your career where you're capable of opening up, but you have a skill in your hand, in your head, that you can be a productive member of society, and not say, okay, the only way you're going to succeed in this world is to go to college, because that's a bunch of horse hockey.
Right. Well, so one example of that. So I come from an ag family, and we worked on all our own equipment. We had to change oil, work on it, weld, fix things as we grow. Well, when I turned 17, I went in the Air Force. I went to basic training, and they gave me a test. And they asked me what career field I wanted to be in. Well, mechanics was one of them, so they gave me a test. I scored so high on the test, I didn't go to school to be a mechanic. They sent me straight to work. That's because I was exposed to those experiences at a young age. It mattered, because I saved the federal government a lot of money by not going to school before I went to work. So there's opportunity for everyone. Anybody can do whatever they want to do if they want to and put their mind to it.
America is still the land of opportunity.
Absolutely.
It still is for everybody. And if that weren't the case, why are all these people scrambling to get here? Why is that line of people coming up here from Honduras begging to get into this country if this isn't the land of opportunity? And I firmly believe that. I've seen it enough growing up. I've seen people with 8th grade educations become multimillionaires in this country because of hard work and dedication. Absolutely. In this county, in this state, in this region, in this country, it is still there if you do the things you have to do. And hard work is one of them, man. I mean, Garrett and I have talked about this before. Get up, suit up, and show up every day. If you do that every day, you're going to succeed in this country, because it's hard not to. I mean, you see it already. You see generations, families that make it over here from Africa or China or Korea or Vietnam, and they buy themselves a little business, and their children in one generation are graduating from Harvard and Dartmouth and Yale, and they're becoming architects and engineers and lawyers and doctors in one generation in this country. They can't wait to get over here. They're begging to get over here. So the opportunity is still there. And what you're talking about, Keith, is exactly what we need to start focusing on. So I'm grateful for that. You know, we had a representative from a different district who's no longer serving because she termed out, but that was something that's very near to her heart, Marlene O'Toole as well. So you can pick up the mantle where she left off, because she was on the Education Commission, and she did a lot of that stuff while she was in Tallahassee too. So I look forward to watching what you got to do, man. I can't wait to see what you accomplish up there.
Well, I'm honored to be here.
Well, Lake County and Orange County is lucky to have you. Real quick, Keith, before we wrap this up, tell us what your district is. I mean, what areas of this county and Orange County do you cover?
Well, we'll start on the east side. So the Seminole County line is my farthest boundary on the east side, and my southern boundary would be 436, 441, on over into Lake County. Then it turns into 448, comes across 448, all the way to basically the Howey Bridge, and then takes in the peninsula and Tavares, and then it goes back up kind of 452 area, the county road, up to the county line, Marion County line, and then up to Astor, and then follows the river back down to the Seminole County line. So it's a pretty rural area, but, you know, it's got a lot of urban, you know, city constituents as well. So it's very diverse. It's a very diverse area.
That's exactly the word I was thinking of when you were describing that district. Is, I mean, you know, you got Mount Dora and you got Umatilla. I mean, you got two cities that are.
Or you can think about Cassia or.
Right. Astor. Right.
Right.
I mean, you know, talk about an area that's concerned about water. Astor is one of them. So anyway, well, Keith, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us tonight. It's an honor to have you here, and I'm sure we'll have you back. And
Absolutely.
All of your constituents should feel lucky to have you representing them in Tallahassee. I know I do. And again, I can't wait to see where you go from here.
Well, I look forward to serving and being a part of it. I'm here for anybody. If any questions, feel free to reach out to the office, and we'll work on anything you have to bring.
Let them know how to contact you, Keith.
So contact our district office here in Tavares. I don't remember the phone number.
You're new. That's understandable. We'll get that, and we'll pass it along to our listeners. But your office is located in the Ag Center, appropriately enough. They're on 19 in between Tavares and Howey. So, yeah, everybody knows how to get there. But anyway, Keith, thanks again for joining us. Best to you and to your family.
Thank you very much. Have a great night.
You too.
And thank you again for listening to Community IQ. Look forward to talking to you soon. Our next guest up is going to be Anthony Sabatini. Looking forward to that. And remember, make it a great day.